Again, well, thank you all for coming out. You guys, really looking forward to the discussions that we're going to be having today on the topic of branding, and then also speaking on one of the widely used vehicles, which is podcasting in the industry. We know that's a huge, again, social channel that many investors, many professionals in the industry leverage. So to combine both this general conversation on branding and then also maximizing this vehicle, we're really looking forward and we're really excited to hear from our experts what they have to share, and how the information that they will provide will add value to everyone. So as we get started, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Charlotte Ametam, and I am the content marketing manager here at InvestNext. And one major component that I do is having the opportunity to put together these informative and educative events, again, to also share value, as I stated before, to professionals in the industry. So whether you're an expert or you're a novice or you're the inexperienced but curious individual like myself who's now interested in moving into financial freedom, of course, maybe because I have a lot of student loans, InvextNext, one thing I love about InvestNext is having them provide this platform to where professionals can network and connect and leverage each other's knowledge. So that's enough about myself. I'm going to introduce my wonderful co-host, which is Coriel Lespier. And Coriel, the mic is yours. I'll just go ahead, shine.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Charlotte. Well, I'll keep it really brief. My name is Coriel Lespier. As she said, I'm here on the sales team at InvestNext. And I give demos all day, every day on the InvestNext tool. And so I talk to people about using our CRM to track relationships, use the fundraising tools to close deals. And I am really often getting that obvious question of where do these people come from? How do I build an audience of people to invest in these deals? So today we're answering that question. How do you use social media and podcasting for lead generation? And the ultimate goal being that someday you're just raising capital in your sleep, as Natalie Contreraz put it so eloquently. And so I will go ahead and introduce our first panelist, Natalie Contreraz, to get us started. I met Natalie at the Best Ever conference this year. She immediately blew me away with her insights and advice for building the InvestNext brand. I remember her asking me to think about InvestNext, next what? Is it the next generation of investing? Is it the next big thing? She immediately got to the heart of how to use your brand to connect with people and communicate your value. And that's her superpower. She helps commercial real estate investors scale their businesses up by building their brand on social media. And as she says, it's not about really what you can see or do. It's about who can see you doing it. She's the founder of creative digital marketing agency Marketecture, which was born organically out of this need that I just described for support, basically telling your brand story and communicating to communities online. She does everything from social media management to content creation and editing, so you don't have to. So that is Natalie Contreraz, panelist number one. I'll pass it back to Charlotte to introduce our other wonderful panelist.
Awesome. I had the opportunity to, again, as she said, introduce Natalie Erickson. And it's funny, and in the background, just setting this event together, I would call you guys Team Nat. Just the fact that both of you guys are Natalie. But Natalie Erickson, her story began in early 2021 when a friend introduced her to the world of podcast editing. She eventually exceeded her friend's expectations as the love of learning and being creative pretty much drove her even deeper into editing programs until she pretty much found herself operating a full service podcasting business. So one client turned into two then turned into three, and you have it now. Three turned into, of course, more. And so editing is not only a job for Natalie Erickson, it is her passion. Since beginning her editing journey, she's helped multiple podcasts launch and continues to support them. And she's also begun a training program for podcast editors to expand their business, as well as to provide opportunities for clients and future team members. Lastly, of course, we all know you have work-life balance. In her free time, she does enjoy spending time with her fiance, her 3 kids. They love traveling, fly fishing, at-home gardening, hiking, and playing those family games. And so, Natalie, I pretty much just like sprinkled a little bit of your life story. However, I'll open the floor to you to further give us details into your passion as the CEO of Lightbulb Podcast and Editing.
Well, you kind of said it all. Like Lightbulb Podcast Editing it's my world. I love podcasting. It's my way of like, we all have a voice. We all have knowledge that we need to share with the world. And it's becoming more and more important to get those knowledge and experiences out there so that others can learn from you and learn from your mistakes. And being a podcast editor, that's my way of contributing to the world.
I love that. That's, and then again, and same thing, coming into this industry, one thing for me was like, okay, well, how am I going to find information quickly? And that was through, the first thing I did was going straight to Google Podcast, and I would sit there and I would listen when I'm writing articles. That's the first thing. It's one of my main resources, that and YouTube, when I'm searching for topics specifically in the industry. So to hear both, again, amazing backgrounds. Again, one, as I stated earlier, stemming from this general scope of the importance of branding. And again, this particular vehicle that is used as a resource in the industry. I'm really excited to dive into our first topic of capitalizing social media, to raise capital. Natalie, and it's funny because Coriel, she coined the motto, and I actually had that written out, is one of the main things that I always hear you say is, of course, is how to raise capital in your sleep. And of course, for GPs, that would be like the holy grail. How can I do that? So my question to you rolling into this topic is, how do you do that? How do we build this brand perception? How can I raise capital through social media? The mic is yours. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Let's dive into it. I would definitely bring out your books, take notes. We're about to drop a lot of value, Natalie and I. So what I'm going to go ahead and share right now is our 4-step lead generation funnel to start generating leads while you sleep. So let me share my screen. Beautiful. All right. Is this big and clear for everybody?
Yeah, looks great.
Awesome. All right, so what you'll see here is awareness is going to be at the very top of our funnel. Now, overall, the funnel is basically taking us through the client journey. And this is the brand experience that we're going to be having, how we're going to provide value to people, and the numbers that go along with it. Whenever you are planning on starting to build your brand, you really want to make sure that you are standing out. You don't want to blend in with everybody else. You don't want to be somebody who just posts stock photos of random properties or properties that maybe you underwrote last week and that didn't work out, right? You need to post content that basically, provides value to people and connects with your own personal voice. For example, if you are somebody who was an ex-veteran, leverage that. You have a whole community of people who are going to trust you a little bit more because you guys have a similar background. Whether you're a woman, whether you're a veteran, whether you're X, Y, Z, leverage that personality that you have to make yourself stand out on social media. You can no longer play the vanity metrics where you can show off your car and the amount of properties that you own. People want to work with people who are valuable and people that they know, like, and trust. Mm-hmm. So step 1 with this awareness is to attract brand awareness for your brand by being as authentic and valuable as possible. Okay, some tips that I have here going into the nurturing aspect of building your brand is to build rapport with your existing audience. Whenever you're building your brand on social media, I know it can be a bit time consuming, right? What do I post? How do I build these relationships? Well, the easy way to do that is through messaging on social media. So if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on Instagram, if you're on Facebook, and somebody follows you, somebody comments on your post, send them a quick DM. Hey, looks like you're interested in multifamily investing. Have you been in your first deal? Are you looking to raise capital? I mean, what part are you in? Did you just leave your 9-to-5 job and you're learning about it? Get to understand what part in their journey they are. That way you understand how to move forward with that client journeys conversation. All right. So next, going into that, I mean, I'm brain dumping right now. So if you guys have any questions, I like to get in the role. So yeah, just hop in any questions in the question box, just in case you guys have anything you want me to slow down.
Awesome.
So, all right, we just went over the awareness and nurturing, but you're like, okay, where am I posting my content? Should I be posting on LinkedIn? Should I be posting on Facebook, YouTube? Should I just focus on doing a podcast? Well, the big part of it, unfortunately, quote unquote, is that it'd be better to be everywhere, right? And it seems like it takes a lot of time, but a big part of it is going to be understanding that, as with every other part of the business, this is something that you're going to be able to automate. A lot of the work is going to be on the front load of the business, on figuring out, hey, what am I going to post? What am I going to talk about? What is my brand? And that's the conversations that I love having. Just like Coriel mentioned, whenever I first met her, I said, InvestNext. What is the next what? What are you guys targeting? Are you trying to work with, syndicators who are in their first 1 to 3 years in business, or people who are a bit more of a veteran? You want to get as specific as possible. That way you know what kind of conversations you have. If you go to a networking event, best ever conference, and you ask somebody, hey, how long have you been doing this? You don't have the same conversation with somebody who's been doing it for 10 years as somebody who's doing it for 1 year, right? It's the same thing. I think that people get lost in, the fact that it's digital and that you can't see the person in front of you, but it is another person and it is another relationship that you are wanting to build. And with that being said, building a relationship now these days requires 7 different touch points. You need to conversate with somebody, have a conversation, like their post, have them see your ad or something at a minimum of 7 times psychologically for them to be able to have trust in moving forward with working with you. Now think about if you could do that while you sleep. If you could get across those 7 touch points while you are sleeping. We all know we find somebody we find on some social media and we just binge watch their content. We probably all found Grant Cardone at one time. We watched probably like 2 hours of his videos just because it was amazing. And now you're just giving this guy's your money for Cardone Capital, right? Or a course or a sales training or something like that. That is the exact same thing that you want to do with your brand. Committing to 2 hours per week. 2 hours per week, you could break that up to 30 minutes for 4 days. You can break that up however you want, but you could create an immense amount of content in that time, especially leveraging podcasts and recording those podcasts. Why? Let's say you record a 2-hour podcast and your theme of the week is going to be lending. Right? You're going to talk everything about lending, everything about working with private equity investors versus working with, just private investors in general. You want to compare those two, and you're just talking and you're just brain dumping and you're sharing your experience and you're making a couple jokes about how, that darn private equity investor, was that kind of person, right? You're just building a relationship and having an authentic conversation with your audience. Now, you're going to hire somebody like me, or maybe a virtual assistant, to help you break apart that content and make it as newsworthy as possible, because you have 3 seconds to gather somebody's attention and 1 second to hold it. Those first 4 seconds of your content are absolutely crucial. Whether you're cutting up a podcast, you need to have somebody who's aware of that 4-second rule. You want to have somebody who can actually listen to the content that you are creating and find the value, and they're not just cutting random pieces of it. There has to be a strategy behind your social, behind your brand. Along with that, I would highly emphasize collaborations. I mean, podcasts are just a huge opportunity to collaborate with other people in this space. I mean, for instance, this is basically a podcast. We could strip the audio and put this onto Spotify and Apple Music, and people will be able to listen to this. Now we have a second form of content. I could cut up the last 10 minutes of what I've been saying and cut that into one piece of content, right? But we are collaborating here, and we are able to share these audiences and basically just spread awareness of not only my brand, not only Natalie's brand, but also InvestNext brand, and spread a movement. whenever you are building your brand, you want to think about having a movement and that you are actually making a huge impact on the 100 followers that you have. Imagine being in a room full of 100 people and they are all ears. They actually trust you. They signed up, they paid $20, let's say, to show up to that. Like, you are going to be able to close, let's say, 2% of that 100 people. That 2%, those 2 people in that group could be worth $1 million. You never know. You really never know. So that's where the call to action comes. Once you've built that relationship, they're constantly seeing your content that you're putting out. You're showing up on the stories consistently with intention. You're not just posting, oh, I had this for lunch. You're saying, oh my God, it's been a busy day. I had to stop for lunch. I'm eating a kale salad because, these are my goals and I'm working towards my goals and I'm sticking the line with my kale salad and I'm happy. And this is what I'm working on for the rest of the day. That's an extra maybe 5 seconds where you're telling people a little about your story. That extra 5 seconds makes them feel that they are a part of your life, that they actually have a relationship with you, even though they've never even met you in person. Think about the power of social media in that aspect. Yes, there's so many, nuances to it and all of this like fake news or whatever, but you have the power to create whatever environment and community that you want to create. Just like InvestNext is doing here, they've brought together a group of people who are passionate about their growth and building wealth for themselves and for their family. And we're all here today to learn how to grow that wealth and to have a bigger impact not only on ourselves and our family, but on the people that our content reaches moving forward. So that's how you close the deal, with that emotion, with that drive, with that passion, with that authentic relationship that you're building with people. And I can't stress enough the importance and the power that podcasting has as a long form piece of content, and how that can drip down into realistically 100 different pieces of content moving forward. Natalie, tell us a little bit more about your perception and thoughts in regards to that.
Oh, here we go. Unmuted.
There we go. Sorry about that. So podcasting it's a great opportunity to share your experiences. As Natalie was saying, Natalie took a lot of it and really summed it up for me. Podcasting it's a way for people to connect with you on a more personal level, but it's an opportunity for you to share your humanity, your mistakes, sharing your experiences and everything. And it's getting your information, like you're saying, your information and your experiences out there for people to hear. And as Natalie was saying, it's that relatable content. And one of the key things about podcasting is, you always want to make sure that you are authentic in everything you say. If, you don't want to hide your knowledge or lack of. And the great part about having that podcast is that, you can bring on those expert guests and you can ask them those questions that you need to ask to further your journey. But it also helps your audience further their journey. And as Natalie say, you can take like a 30-minute podcast and you can break it up into little micro contents and get it out there and share with so many other people that, you see that hook and they want to go, and that builds that audience and that trust factor. And one of the things I highly recommend is that you get on YouTube and you put your podcast out there so people can see you. You want to have that eye connection, because that's a human thing that you need to do, or that people really like, to be able to make eye contact, even if it's on a screen. When a person is looking at you into the screen, you feel like you've made a connection, and it gives that human side of it. Yeah.
I love that. Coriel, I saw you asked a question on how do you refine your audience what content are they looking for, and where are they spending their times, and what social media platforms are they using? And I think that's an amazing question. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. I created this resource recently for some coaching clients that I have, and it's how to create Grand Slam offers on autopilot. Okay. So what we see very often in this space is everybody says the same thing. I invest in multifamily and I teach people how to achieve financial freedom. What the heck does that mean? Like, realistically, what does that mean? What can you do for me? That is what your audience is saying. What's in it for me? All right. So going back to here, we can actually pull it up right here. Identifying your ideal customers. What's in it for me archetypes. So a great resource that you could have is create a chart just like this. And let's say you have different archetypes for your brand. Archetype 1, let's say maybe it's somebody who's an existing investor and they're investing in single family. All right. What levels are there to that? The beginner, they're probably a wholesaler. Intermediate, maybe they do 1 to 5, they flip 1 to 5 houses per year. I'm sorry. In advanced, they do 2 to 5 flips per month. The person who's doing 2 flips a month has a completely different perspective on investing than somebody who's a beginner wholesaler, right? So you're going to keep that in mind and you're going to say, what's in it for me? Okay. What's in it for me for the wholesaler? Well, man, wholesaler, I mean, you're spending all this time and money and investing in, contacting sellers, and, you're spending probably $30,000 a month on investing. What if you were able to make a certain return by passively investing in real estate? What are you doing for them? You're saving them time, you're saving them money, and you're saving them, a couple of gray hairs, I would say. Now, somebody who's an advanced investor who's doing, let's say, 2 to 5 flips a month, what kind of questions are they asking? Or what kind of problems are they having? They're probably having problems about, man, this is a full-time job. Having to do the spur strategy for one in every single property, 24 properties a year. Whew. I don't have time to see my family. I'm so stressed all the time. People are breaking in my houses. The contractors aren't doing their job. What kind of pains are they having?
I love
They're
that.
completely different than the beginner wholesaler. And so you want to be able to nail down each of their pain points and their fears and the problems that you solve. And this will help you never run out of angles to present your message to your audience, right? So let's take it back. Let's say you are a woman investor, right? I teach wealthy women how to spend more time with their family, something along those lines, right? And then in your content, you're going to be creating content for each one of these different archetypes and the levels that they are at. And you really want to focus on the emotional aspects of it. Now, let's identify, where are they in their customer journey? Are they problem aware? Do they know that, that investing or flipping houses is a full-time job? Or are they just living their day-to-day life? Are they unaware of their problem? Maybe they are aware and they just need a solution. They just don't know where to look towards. Or maybe they do know that multifamily investing is the solution, but they don't know how to get started. Maybe they don't have the money to invest in a $30,000 to $50,000 coaching program. Maybe they just need a little bit of courage. That's what your content can provide them, right? And so after you complete identifying your ideal customers, you really want to create your Grand Slam offer. So if you look on my Instagram, my Grand Slam offer is I'm transforming real estate experts into master brands or something like that.
Yeah.
So I do that by helping them generate leads while they sleep. So with this offer creation, that structure that I have here, it's definitely going to start with finding the right market, which is exactly what we just mentioned. Finding the pain, what's their purchasing power? Are they able to invest a certain amount, or are they just beginning? Or do you have to nurture them a little bit, maybe guide them, give them a little bit more direction? Are they easy to target with these, let's say, these moms out there who are already flipping houses, and, you know, they're online most likely. They're online because they want to keep up with what's happening. They want to make sure, you know, they're seeing what's happening. That way they're aware of what their kids might be seeing. They're going to be easier to target. And some of you might be thinking, okay, you know, Facebook, LinkedIn. Yes, those are great. Facebook is all about you. You'll see it all the time. You start, you know, shifting your perspective. People are always talking about, I did this, I did that on Facebook, right? LinkedIn is more about you and we. We can do this together. You can do this too. Now with Instagram and TikTok, it's more about us, right? Us as a collective, like we can do this. If I can do this, you can do this too. Let me show you how, right? So think of Facebook as, this is what I did. LinkedIn is, this is how I did it. And Instagram and TikTok is showcasing everything involving that, because you are on video and you're able to communicate that message a little bit more quickly and effectively. Now you might be thinking, who the heck in my target audience is on TikTok? Over 40 million people, over 40 million users on TikTok are above that generation of millennials. So I think that's like 35 and up now.
Wow.
And they spend about a minimum of like a ridiculous amount of time, like 45 minutes to an hour on TikTok whenever they go. It's insane how much time they're spending on that app. And some trends that you'll see with TikTok right now is that they are wanting to basically take over what Twitch is doing. So if you're familiar with Twitch, it's a streaming platform for gamers, and you're able to monetize that because people want to see what you're doing. So imagine you're able to go live and people are paying you to go live. This would be great for somebody who underwrites all day, every day, and now they can make money while they're underwriting. They just stream themselves underwriting deals. Maybe they, you know, blur out the property and the details, but they're showing you, hey, this is how I underwrite deals. This is what I look for in deals. And imagine you are somebody who's wanting to invest in multifamily, and you're watching this live, and you're really getting to understand how they underwrite and look for deals. And they find a deal that works. And you join that journey. You saw them from underwriting to locking it in to, like, you know, getting the LOI accepted. And you're one of the first people to get notified to have the opportunity to invest. Oh my God, you were there from the very beginning. You're going to have an emotional attachment to working with this person because you are able to be from the bottom to their success. So with wrapping that all up, you know, really identifying your ideal audience, really getting very specific, figuring out their pain points, how you can solve them, and creating a grand slam offer to target that specific audience. Now, you might be thinking, well, I want to target everybody. Well, don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of brands or people out there that just have kind of what seems just like a chaos strategy.
Everybody's seeing it. It's like, actually, nobody's seeing it.
Exactly. And it's never very effective. The reach isn't there. The impact isn't there. So I love that how formulaic this is. Helps, you know, channel that creative energy into something that like you can workflow through.
Exactly. Social media can be very intimidating, but, you know, just like with everything, you can systemize it and you can create a process. You can get what you wanted to get done in 6 months and get it done in 3 months instead, right? You just got to commit to it, be consistent, show up on podcasts, show up on social media, maybe write mini blogs every here and now and then. It's just a matter of, you know, once you really nail down who you want to target. Let's say Coriel, I know you are passionate about helping women in the workforce. I know that is something you're passionate about. And you are able to channel that passion every single day because it's something that you're excited to show up with. Now, let's say you're a veteran and you are passionate about, you know, that experience that you had. You're going to be passionate about showing up every single day to help other veterans get to the point that you are at, right? That's going to be with any offer, whether, you know, you're a woman, you are a veteran, whether you are a person of color, whatever it be, you want to help the people who are just like you in your position get to a higher position now, right? And that's where the passion and drive is going to come from. And it's really going to just seem over to every other part of your business. Realistically, you start posting consistently on social media. It's a form of accountability. You get leads, you're making more money, or you're raising more money, and you're impacting more lives, and everything just kind of gets a little bit better because now you're actually moving with intention and purpose.
I know, I mean, the authenticity piece is something you've mentioned as like that's what will resonate with people. That's why they'll trust you. And I see you on social media all the time, putting yourself front and center, and how compelling that is. Do you have any advice for people who are shy, basically, who are a little bit reluctant to put themselves on camera? How do they overcome that? Or like, what other strategies would you recommend for somebody who has to get past that barrier?
Yes, I actually have everything right here. So I'll go ahead and show you guys in case you're a visual person.
Oh, wow. This is amazing.
So how do you be confident on video? Video is a powerhouse these days. If you're trying to show up on social media, it's kind of a necessity. So how do you get over that fear? Well, really, you just have to practice. And what I've noticed with some of the clients that I'm working with, it really helps if they form a script, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to form a headline. I give them headlines, hey, we're going to be talking about these different things. I need you to write a script and think out what you want to say, right? For me, I can't do scripts. I kind of just like right here, I'm just talking, I get in my groove and I just keep on going, right? Some people need scripts and that's okay. You need that. That way you have structure and you have confidence in your ability to show up, and just keep practicing. You know, it's not about you. It's about what you have to say, right? That's going to be huge. It's not about you. It's about what you have to say. Just for success, you know, look good, feel good, get your hair done, you know, shave a little, whatever it is that you got to do to feel good. Just have a plan, show up. And I would say record long videos and do it in cuts. So this is what I do if I'm filming a TikTok or a reel or short form video. I'll be talking right here, and let's say I mess up, and I'm just going to keep on going. Mess up, I'm just going to keep on going. But whenever I edit, I just cut out those awkward little pauses or those like, oh no, I messed up. I just cut those out. That's okay. You know, that's what they do in movies. They cut out the parts that they mess up. They don't stop and start over again. They just keep going. And you want to do the exact same thing. So talk to yourself, practice, focus on your tonality and your inflection. Again, it's not about you, but it's about what you have to say and how you say it, right? If I said exactly what I'm saying right now, but in a very monotone voice, it wouldn't have the impact or, you know, spark the passion or the drive for you to go and take action after this the same, because the tonality would have been completely different. So to sum that up, how do you get confident on video? Create a script for yourself, dress for success, and just hit record. Realistically, just hit record.
I think that's really good advice, especially, you know, talking about when you're recording a video, and just keep going. Cause, you know, sometimes some individuals can be perfectionists. Like, this doesn't work. Let me stop right here. I mean, that resonated with me because that happens to me all the time. And I'm like, no, this doesn't work, but just continue, as, you know, just going to prolong the process of developing the content that you need. And then also even running into the part about, you know, like writing that script. I'm definitely a scripter. I will read a script, memorize a script, recite it as if I'm Johnny Depp himself or whatever. I don't know. That's just the way that I would go. But no, that's wonderful advice to give someone, because yeah, that stuck with me.
Yeah, 100%. It takes practice. And I'll be honest, the beginning of the year, it was hard for me to create content. I was struggling. I knew what I wanted to say, but my offer was, I feel, very broad. I felt like I was serving everybody, and I was helping people get to where they need in their business, but it was hard for me to apply it for myself, which is usual for people who are creatives. They can help other people, but then when it comes to them, they just get a roadblock. Yeah. And I'll tell you guys something really interesting that happened. I didn't post for 2 months on my Instagram, except I posted on my story every single day, because on my story, I felt like I could be more authentic and more myself. And what I did was, with every person that followed me, I started a conversation. I started conversations in the comments of other people's posts that were in commercial real estate. Let's say Coriel was at an event. She was at an event that I'm not at. And she posts all these pictures of everybody that's in commercial real estate. I follow every single one of those people. I've actually done this. I follow every single one of the people that she's tagged, and I start a conversation with them. In those 2 months that I didn't post on social media and I purely focused on building relationships and engaging with other people, I gained 400 followers.
Wow. Wow.
That's
wow.
just actually building relationships in this space.
I love that strategy.
So powerful. Yeah, no, I mean, we both clearly are sitting here like, like that's incredible, because people do get so hung up on content creation and trying to perfect it, like you said, when really that's not what social media is about. It's about that social aspect and all those relationships.
True.
Exactly. And like, I mean, I'll just tell you guys some like accolades that I got. I was able to, there's this big guy in the space. His name is the apartment rock star. He has like 200,000 followers on social media. And I tagged him on my story and he never saw it until the next day, whenever it expired. He goes, "Hey, sorry, I didn't see your story. It was nice to meet you." I was like, I didn't even meet this guy. Like, I never even talked to him. Like, I left that event early. Like, I was shy. He invited me over, you know, I started a conversation. He invited me over to his office to get a tour and to get a one-on-one interview with him. But I was nervous, so I brought my team with me to go and do a podcast. And I ended up getting 3 hours of his time. And like, oh my God, it was just so much value. He talked to us about the structure of his business. He's vertically aligned, everything from, you know, of course, like asset management. He owns his own property management company. He's doing, like, I think he has like $400 million assets under management. I mean, this guy is huge. And just from social media, not even posting about him, mentioning him in my story, I was able to build that amazing connection just through social media. That was one of my favorite experiences that I've had based off of, you know, building my brand so far.
That's awesome. And you mentioned a podcast there, and that makes me think of a question that I sort of have for Natalie Erickson, because we've talked about social media and how formulaic it can be. I mean, you do want to have that authenticity, but also to kind of structure yourself and create a winning strategy, there's some steps to think through. And I know that the same must be true for podcasts. Like, we can all think of these really successful podcasts out there. And I'm wondering, like, what are the characteristics or like the formula that it takes to create one of those impactful, high reach podcasts? Like, from your perspective as the editor, what do you see that works and what doesn't?
So the characteristics that they all have, like the format of it is very similar, especially in the real estate space, is, you know, it's talking about the information that you have, and then it's networking and connecting with those that can help expand, you know, your thoughts and help expand the topics. You know, one of the things that I have noticed with a lot of real estate podcasts is that they all network together. So if you have a podcast and I have a podcast, we can podcast with each other, you know, like, hey, I'll do a show for you, you do a show for me, and you've got content, you've got your word out there. But it also, if you can reach like an expert guest that has tons of followers, and you know, their level is here and your level is here. Well, if you can get on their podcast, well, then your reach gets even higher, because the people that follow them are now seeing your face, and you get that recognition and you get that growth, you know. The depending upon the podcast depends upon like your topic. So you have some people who are specifically syndicators, and they talk specifically about the syndication. Then you have those who talk, you know, specifically about, you know, single family homes, or, you know, and so that leads into like the different categories and the different things, you know. So it really depends upon what you're really interested in, what information you're looking for. But one of my favorite that I edit for on a regular basis, you know, she reaches out to so many like top investors, and it is so fun to hear their stories. But one of the things she does is she actually doesn't talk about real estate, which is really funny, but it gets people to see the humanity side of that investor. And it really builds on that trust and that rapport with other people. And then your audience has that ability to relate to you, and it builds that know, like, and trust factor.
I love I mean, I see these themes emerging between the two things y'all are sharing. Like authenticity is the key to building trust. Collaborations, that was like the first thing you mentioned there, can be really powerful. I mean, relationships are key across the board, but especially if you can have relationships with really influential people, that can also be game changing and a way to tap into like, how do you reach your target audience? I don't know, go partner with somebody who's already talking to your target audience, who has some influence and reach in that space. That seems to carry over from social media into podcasting and probably in all sorts of lead gen.
That's so true. You know, user-generated content is a huge thing, and you can definitely leverage that again by these relationships, as we talked about. And as you mentioned, sharing or like co-sharing or co-podcasting. I don't know if that's a buzzword. I just created it just now, but having the capability to do that. Yeah. And it's again, sharing with their network, your network. And at the same time, you're building your following, and you're building, like you said, that know, like, trust factor.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
Well, as we get into our last 15 minutes, I want to make sure that anybody from the audience who has any questions, please go ahead and post them in the chat. This is definitely open forum. Anything that's top of mind or that you're curious about, go ahead and ask. And I'll put the same out to our panelists at this point. If there's anything that you like, advice that you wish you knew a year ago that you'd like to share, or maybe like, are there any common mistakes you see people making that you'd like to talk to?
That's a good one.
Yeah, help everybody here avoid. I want to hear like the most important takeaways you want to make sure we share today.
Sure. Yeah. So a common mistake that I definitely see is people just putting a link in bio and not telling people what's in there. You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
Right?
so small, such a huge error. Wow, that's interesting.
Why should I go to the link in your bio? Like, how do I know it's not a scam link? I'm kidding, but you know what I'm saying. So, you got to get a little bit creative, especially since we are in a service space where we're not selling anything, right? We have to focus on, giving free value consistently, and fingers crossed, hoping people decide to work with us compared to all the other syndicators or investors or operators. So how can you get people to submit their information? Because at the end of the day, yeah, you have followers, but how do you convert your followers into leads, into prospects, right? How do you get their data, right? Data is going to be king these days, right? And so a great way to do that is by creating a lead magnet, right? So what is a lead magnet?
Yeah.
A webinar, an ebook, blueprint, guide. This is something where somebody is going to be incentivized to download it and to listen to it. So a great one that we're going to be implementing with the Atlas guys is going to be something called the Couch Cash Flow Challenge. All right. Right? Catchy.
Yeah.
And so with this lead magnet, what it's focused on is educating passive investors on what it means to be a passive investor. Everything from a brief, all of these, it's about 10 videos, about 2 to 5 minutes each, talking about everything from taxes to cost segregation to what is a multifamily deal, how do we choose our deals, who is Atlas. So it's basically a mini course. We're going to be gathering people's information to essentially provide them value and get them into our community. So we are also starting a community called the API Club. API Club is Atlas Passive Investors Club, where we're going to be providing a bunch of free value for them to be able to scroll through. So the idea behind that is, it's outside of Facebook. So there's no like spam bots or any of that. You have to be approved to get in. And so this is just an example of a lead magnet where people are going to be like, I actually want to join that. Like, I do want to be in a group of people full of passive investors. I do want to learn more about what it means to be a passive investor and learn the basics and just watch like many videos instead of having to read like a 10-page document, right? So, I mean, this is a great example of a lead magnet, right? This is why we do it, to collect emails and, collect prospects of people who would be interested in, learning how to use InvestNext and how to generate leads for the InvestNext CRM, essentially. Webinar, it's something as simple as, the easiest example is filming yourself or doing a webinar on how you underwrite deals, on how you choose the deals you do. Maybe it's going to be a case study of a deal that you've gone full cycle with, or something, right? Just think about providing value to people and not just having them book a call with you on your Calendly, because that feels, I mean, I've heard a lot of things recently. It's just like, you know, if you send somebody your Calendly link, like, it's just like, really, like, let's build a relationship here. Like, let's talk about it, and then like I'll schedule a meeting with you, because it feels like you're just asking them on a, you know, on a date without even knowing the person. It's pretty much
date.
That's funny how you mentioned that with lead magnet. I've been looking into like Airbnb arbitrage, and so I think as I was researching, I'm sure everybody is probably familiar with Brian Page, who's, of course, we know is like a entrepreneur and like business coach, and is really huge. I think his company's B&B. I'm not here to market him, but again, it was those same tactics that had me inquire about his courses. We had the free guide. I remember he had an interview with Brent Cardone, and, you know, looking at his YouTubes. And then of course, it's like, if you want to learn more, sign up for these courses. And that's what he really did. He was really pushing his courses, and that's where a lot of his revenue comes in now. But yeah, definitely lead magnet is that it's effective. I've caught on into it.
Yep, exactly. You'll start to, once you become aware of this marketing funnel, you'll start to see it everywhere, and the way you see business will change, right? You know, I always say marketing is sales, but sales is not marketing, right? So once you see everything differently, you'll start to just really pick up on it and adopt those techniques.
I love how this, clearly that was a really good question. One of the most common mistakes opened us up to this beautiful takeaway here of lead gen. I want to hear, before we are out of time, the same for podcasting. There's got to be some really common mistakes you see people making, and then also like the things they should be doing that they aren't doing. What do you think, Natalie Erickson?
Honestly, the biggest and most common mistake with podcasting is not starting. Podcasting, so many people like, and I get it, because it's an elephant. You approach it and you're like, oh, I want to start a podcast. I've got these amazing ideas. How do I do it? And it's like, and you can research, you can look it up, and there's, 20 different steps to do it. When in reality, it's really not that hard. Yes, it does have a lot of steps, but once you get that initial first few steps out, and really it is, intro, outro, and it's the first episode. I always say, do a trailer so that you get the hook. Tell people why you're doing this and what you're doing.
Love that.
But going back to that common mistake, it's just starting. Podcasting is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be exciting. And the most important thing to do is just start. Get comfortable. Yeah, you're going to make a ton of mistakes. We're all human, but that's normal. And that paves the way for the next person that wants to start a podcast. Like, okay, this person just started and they make mistakes, they mess up. So you know what? It's okay. I do it too. A lot of like, you'd ask, what's the best podcasting tools? Mike, do your research on a microphone. I am not kidding. Microphones are huge. I'm not like, I don't want to drop a whole lot of names, but I'm going to say, first off, stay away from the Blue Yetis.
Blue Yetis.
Okay.
Yeah. So the reason why is that they are so sensitive. They will pick up everything. And I made the mistake. I bought myself a Blue Yeti, and I don't even use it, because I can be in my own room and I can, like, as I'm recording, I can hear my children in the living room at the other end of the house. It's that sensitive. If I plug in my earbuds and turn up the sensitivity all the way up, I can hear the fly buzzing in the window. I mean, they're that sensitive. And when you're doing a podcast, you really want that microphone to pick up only your voice, because that is what people want to hear. They want to hear that. And if your voice is as audibly attractive as possible, people are going to want to come back. Like, my favorite is Star Wars reference. One of my favorite references is, so Mandalorian came out, right? And he had like this amazing voice. His face didn't really match, but he had this amazing voice that you were attracted to. And you're like, oh, I want to hear more. I want to hear more. Then they came out with Boba Fett and you're like, what? That's not the voice I want to hear. I want Mando back. You know, but that's what people really hook onto, is that attractive voice. And that's why they keep coming back and hearing it. Granted, you do have amazing information, but if you don't have good sound, good audio quality, it doesn't matter how attractive your voice is. If they can't hear it, they're not going to come back for it. So honestly, it's like microphones.
I mean, that's so, I hear that every day too, when I like have these demos and people like, I'm like, why are you here today? And they're like, because I want to look professional. I want to have an investor portal because I look professional. I want a high quality microphone so that I sound like a professional. What I'm talking about is taking hundreds of thousands of dollars from people, and they need to trust me to do that. And like that starts with just looking and sounding professional. Exactly like you said. Yeah. It's so do it and do it well, like do it, which actually kind of leads me to one of my final questions, which was at what point, because I really want you two to be able to share your information about how people can work with you. You know, at what point do you recommend or do you see people benefiting from bringing in professional outside help for social media and podcasting?
So for podcasting, one of them, bringing an editor in, it relieves a large amount of your time. So the average, they say it takes, and from my experience, they say it takes 3 to 5 minutes for every recorded minute to edit. So for 1 minute of editing or for 1 minute of recording, it takes us 3 to 5 minutes to edit it out or to edit and make it sound good. So if you have a 30-minute video that you're a podcast that you get out there, it's going to take you anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. If you are able to offload that and bring an editor in, that saves you that much time to be able to market, to talk to your investors, to, you know, connect in other ways.
Yeah, and adding on to that, you know, when should you start building your brand on social media? As soon as possible. Yesterday, but the next best time is today, right? The algorithms are changing, social media is changing all the time. So you want to go ahead and hop on that. And you want to go forward with a strategy and with intention. That way you're not just posting to post, right? You can post once a week and have it be a little bit more effective than posting every single day with an effective strategy. Right? So I would say what I've actually experienced, I've started coaching commercial real estate entrepreneurs on building their brand with a little bit of what I showed you guys earlier with that whole document and the step-by-step process. And we are already noticing by him implementing the strategies and, you know, moving forward with intention, that it's been so much more effective. And he is just starting out. So his friends and his family and strangers are starting to reach out to him to get a little bit more information about what he does and his goals. And so, yes, start as soon as possible. Get help, just like with every part of your business. You got help to get started in your multifamily business. All right, get help with your podcasting business. Get help with your social media business, and treat every single part of your business importantly.
Yes. So are you both open and accepting new clients? How can anybody who's listened to this today reach out and work with you?
For me, go to lightbulbpodcasting.com, and Natalie is going to laugh at this, but schedule a meeting through Calendly.
That's a good website to capture though.
Yeah, well, I mean, I am on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So, you know, connect with me there and shoot me a DM. And awesome. Yes, definitely accepting clients.
Wonderful.
Yes. So, yeah, you can reach out to me at Natalie Megan, MEAAGAN, on all of the platforms, and just shoot me a DM. Let's have a conversation. Let's chat. You know, I can give you some feedback on what you're doing currently, you know, maybe give you a little bit of insight from what I'm seeing. I'm an open book. I'm here to provide value. So, and yes, I am accepting clients for coaching and for, you know, a done for you service as well.
Awesome. I'm very happy to hear that from both of you. I think everybody listening is very happy to hear that. You've shared just the tip of what I'm sure is a whole iceberg of knowledge that you can impart on your clients, all of whom are very lucky to work with you. I've heard amazing things from your clients. That's part of how I met you, is just from people who are actually partnering with you and whose like entire businesses have been revolutionized and seen explosive growth as a result of it. So we're very grateful for all the time you shared with us today. Thank you both so much, the Natalies.
Right, Team Nat. And what I did, and you guys also feel free to share your information in the chat. I went ahead and Natalie Erickson, I posted your LinkedIn, and Natalie, see, I went ahead and posted your Instagram. So yeah, if there's just as an avenue for anyone to get in touch with you guys, we really appreciate the time that you guys took out to share your knowledge and your expertise in the field. This was definitely informative for me. I'm not a podcaster, but now I'm like, oh, okay, a mic. Now I know information that, I can just share with someone. Like, this is what you do when you start podcasting. And even the same with you, Natalie, just when it comes into marketing as a marketer, it's like we understand these strategies and these funnels. But now I can have this extra conversation as far as like your brand specifically, finding that niche, and of course building that trust, and just that market analysis when it comes to someone who's trying to branch out as a syndicator in the industry. So this was definitely a ton of amazing information. And for anyone else that was out here, feel free to share, tag that, you were at this event, and look out. The recording will be posted tomorrow, so that, again, you can share this on your platforms and grab those snippets, because I know I definitely will. And Natalie Erickson, I may like, hey, I have an editing question for a video. What do you do with this?
Yeah, anytime.
Awesome. Coriel.
One last thing. Okay, no, I didn't want to interrupt your flow, but we definitely, we hope to see you all again next month. That's the last thing before we send you all off. We have our second quarterly Women Investors Meetup coming up. This one is of particular interest and is very special to Charlotte and I, and we have all these amazing women in the group here today. So I hope you can all join us. That's going to be on June 22nd. We're going to be bringing together some of the most powerhouse women in the industry to share basically a mini keynote each on an area of expertise. It's going to be super high value. We just need more women giving keynotes in general. So we're happy to help make that happen. So please stay tuned for more details. And otherwise, just have a good rest of your afternoon and evening, or wherever you are. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.